Bor, Ping William, Ato in Juba, Malatori, hey, I'm yo, Ping William, Ato in Benti, Walla Quaju, hey, wow, Ping William, Ato in Malkal, Walla Pinyaram, Ping William,
Okay, welcome everybody. Welcome to Let's Stay Media. Thank you. My name is Abraham Medit. My guest for this evening is always our guest, my brother Edmund Yakani. Edmund, thank you for always having time for us, and good that you have always come to Let's Stay Media to talk about our nation affair. So thank you so much. This evening, let us talk. Our topic for today is regarding about budget, a national budget. So as we see that the parliamentarian, they meet yesterday for the hearing, and that's what we look into it. Yakani, before we dive into our conversation, can you introduce yourself while we go on to the topic? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. My name is Edmund Yakani. I work as Executive Director of CEPO. And I'm happy to join you and your audience in Lex Media, and thanks always for inviting me. As you said, I'm always on standby at any time. This is a national call, national demand. So, yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Yakani. You know, yesterday I see and I read a lot of what's going on in parliamentarian national budget for 2023 to 2024. So what is your assessment overall of national budget? What is your assessment on this?
Thank you very much. We are the one who organized the public hearing in coordination with the Finance Committee in the National Parliament, because as a procedures, normally a national budget have to be subject for public hearing. So it's for the first time that the Finance Committee have given us a chance, and I really appreciate the chairperson of the Finance Committee, and I hope that on Friday he may be with you live, and for your audience, maybe on Friday, to be on standby to speak to the chairperson after the public hearing, what is next. The overall budget, the overall observation of the budget is that, one, we have realized some of the figures in the budget does not add up. There are errors of calculation in the budget that we have spotted. For example, I can highlight for you one. If you look at the CDF is supposed to be 3% of the overall national revenue. So if you look at the calculation of the CDF, it is being calculated with missing 5 billion in the budget. So 5 billion is no longer there in the calculation of the budget. So I think that's one error. And some figures also in the budget, if you add them up, they don't add up. That's one thing that is an overall observation. But secondly, if you see this budget is less focusing on the electoral process. But we have got an answer when we raise, like, okay, if you're saying you're going to hold election by December 2024, why is the allocation for the institutions that are responsible for the elections? Almost like each institution, namely the National Election Commission, is almost having 200 million something, 280 million. You go to the political parties council, have 200 million something. You go to the National Constitutional Review Commission, have 200 million. If you add up all the three institutions, their sum up is all about $603 million US. And you are expecting to conduct an election in where the infrastructure, the human resource capacity are really huge gaps that are not in existence. So you need enough money to build human resource, to create infrastructure for this institution to conduct election. But we have got an answer. The answer that we got from the MPs is that election is a project by itself, so it has its own budgets. The reason why they put this budget small is that these budgets are responding to the current level of the functioning of those institutions, because they have arrears of rent, they have arrears of salaries, so they only want to pay that. Until when they're reconstituted, then they will have a budget that's specifically focused on election. And specifically, the chairperson of the Legislation, the Justice Committee, who is an IO member, who is chairing that committee, so as I look at, they as a committee, election is a project by itself. Election have its own budget. That's something that we have observed in the budget. But other institutions that are service institutions, they are really, really below standard in terms of the budget allocations. They are very low. The service institutions are very low. But also we have observed that actually the presidency consumes huge budget compared to the overall national budget. That's another observation that we have realized in the overall budget of of this financial year 2023-2024. But also we have realized that direct charges against the oil revenue is 87%. And what does this mean? This means we have already 87% of the oil revenue is being blocked for direct payment. Direct payment for things like roads, the construction of the roads that are going in country, some expense in the presidency. So 13% of the overall generated oil revenue is going to the budget, is respond to the budget needs. That's really very, very, very small, very small. And that's why the budget has a deficit of almost 2 billion something US dollars deficit. That's what we have observed. Now, some institutions that I want to pick of specific concerns that I would like to bring to your attention. For example, if you look at justice and accountability institutions, their budget have not exceed beyond 3 million. Anti-corruption is 3 million. National Audit Chamber is about 3 million. Then you come to realize that the institutions that have responsibility of accountability and justice is really a big issue in the budget. They're not being given enough money. And some institutions that play a bigger role in shaping the image of the nation of South Sudan. For example, the South Sudan civil aviation. And you know, it's a common practice all over the world that civil aviation has financial autonomy. Our civil aviation have no financial autonomy. What does that mean? It means our civil aviation does not have a budget in place that they can build the airport of Juba to meet international standards. For example, if you go to Juba International Airport, the sewage system is completely very poor. Why? Because civil aviation does not have independent budget. They don't have financial autonomy to take that. Secondly, we have been losing almost in a month around 300 million US dollars for airspace control by Sudan. And this money goes to Sudan. If you calculate it, that goes to Sudan. Why? Because our civil aviation does not have all the standards. Always they've been assessed by the international board that come from Canada. We don't qualify. Why? Because we don't meet the standard in terms of allocation. Now you come to realize that civil aviation is only having 1 million something national budget. What does that mean to an institute like civil aviation? And if you remember recently, Chinese company that constructs infrastructure of civil aviation on the exit out of Juba International Airport, they have been demanding for the government to pay arrears of their construction costs of the building, the new building for the Office of Civil Aviation. So it comes to realize that civil aviation has been undermined. And there's a lot of money generated in the airport, not necessarily deposited to the national treasury. So you come to realize civil aviation is among the least budgeted for. And forget about service ministries and institutions like Ministry of Agriculture, their budgets are very low. Ministry of Fisheries and Livestock, their budget is very low. But if you go to the security institutions, their budget are big. And remember, security budgets are not easily to be accounted for. So, and then today, South Sudan is a member, or South Sudan is a state party, actually. Let me say South Sudan is a state party to the African Women Rights Convention or Treaty, what is called Maputo Protocol. And Maputo Protocol is demanding that 10% of overall budget have to be allocated for agriculture. Also, South Sudan is a party to Abuja Declaration in terms of African member states budgeting for health services. So you come to realize that actually our overall budget of health ministry is not equal to 45 to 15% per Abuja Agreement, because Abuja Agreement is demanding 15% of overall budget of any African member state have to be allocated for health. We didn't meet that standard. So that's really a big issue. And a small amount of money is given to IGA to AU member subscription fees. So if you look at the budget is not really high. And if you look at our honorable minister of information, say they don't want to deceive the citizen by having a big budget that cannot meet the aspirations of the citizens. But if you look at our budget, some ministries are well favored and some ministries are not being favored. Like Ministry of Roads have huge budget. And part of the Ministry of Road is a part of the direct payment of the 87. And that 87% that is not defined from the direct payment of the oil, that is already a blocked account, is really problematic for us in terms of the work. The other thing that we raise is a general concerns. What are these general concerns? General concerns, for example, we say, let the budget show tax exemption on things that are essential for the life of the citizen, like food commodities, sanitary items, for our girls. And if we want to see our girls going to school, we need to reduce the sanitary parts taxes very low so that at least girls can have access, and that will improve them being in school if they don't go to school because the impact of the high price of the sanitary items, it may not allow some of our girls, and specifically if you go to the rural community, so we say, please reduce living taxes, make them tax exempted items. That's what we realized. Our final overall observation was that now we are discussing a financial year budget, 2023-2024, while we have not seen any accountability on the previous budget for the financial year 2022-2023, because it is a norm by practice that actually if you discuss a financial budget for new financial year, you're supposed to have an accountability to the previous financial year. Why we demand accountability for the previous financial year? Because some institutions have spent their money beyond the approved budget line, with at least 300%, some are 200% overspending of the budget. Now we ask the parliament, is overspending of each of the ministers that we have seen they have overspending, have you approved it as a parliament? Because parliament is supposed to approve overspending of any ministry, not just ministry cannot overspend beyond the approved budget line. So we say we need accountability for the previous budget line for the financial year 2022-2023, because so that we can find questions of accountability and questions of compliance and financial discipline with those ministries that spend their budgets over budget approved line, but at the same time, their overspending is not being approved by the parliament. What is happening? What is going on? That's an overall observation that we have thrown. The other overall observation that we have thrown to them is also some ministries are borrowing loans, some states are borrowing loans. Who approve it? Why is it not the parliament? It's supposed to be the parliament to approve those. Why is the parliament not approving that? And we also question them, as a general observation, is that our financial year is 1st July. Why are they discussing budget for new financial year within the first month of where we're supposed to start spending new financial year? How does the government operate? On which budget line is the government running its activities? Because this budget is supposed to be deliberated between May and June, or between April and June. So that comes 1st July, you start new financial year. So we are delaying the new budget, and we have entered into a new financial year. That also contributes in delaying things like wages and salaries. So we have raised there. And we have made an observation on issues of civil servants' salaries and wages. Because if you remember, the president promised an increment 400%. We asked 400% of what? Based on what? 400%. For example, if I'm a soldier, I'm getting only 6,000. What is 400%? It's 24,000. So what does that mean? We need to see basis, because when I have 6,000, the 6,000 were calculated certain basis. Which basis do they use to calculate the 400% increment? So we couldn't find a proper answer. And good enough, we have one quite number of MPs who stood up with us and say, look here, this 400%, it is not rational. It's not convincing. It does not really hold basis of argument. So there's a need to discuss how to increase. And we have been telling them that, look here, this budget need to respond to the salaries of the civil servants. Because why? We're losing professional medical doctors to private sector. We're losing professional teachers to private sector. We're losing a lot of well-qualified civil servants. For ministries, they're going to look for green pastures in the NGOs in the private sector. And the private sector is booming. That's one thing that also we have raised it up. We have also raised, we have realized that in the budget, there's no taxes that is imposed on social investments. There's no investment in Juba. There's a mushrooming private hospitals, private schools. So that is a social investment. Where is their money? Why are we not taxing their money? And if we're taxing the money, why is it not clear that we can't see taxes over that? Because these are really huge ones. And the medical doctors have raised concern about lack of budget for training of medical doctors. They say right now what we have is that we have over 70% of health workers are community workers. They're not really professionals. And also they need to be exempted, and especially the private hospitals and the private clinics. They're supposed to be checked by the what we call South Sudan Medical Council. And the Medical Council is in the Ministry of Cabinet Affairs, not within the Ministry of Health or outside as an independent commission outside the Ministry of Health, because of political decision. So those are some of the arguments that we raise, but there are so many of them. But these are few that I can share with the audience. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Edmund Yakani. You mentioned regarding the salary of soldiers, which is 24,000 a month. And if we can see in the at the dollar rate right now in Juba, $100 is equal to 100,000. Okay, and all the items at the market are skyrocketing, and $24,000 pound is not enough for the soldiers. What can you buy 24,000 a month? I always, when I send the money to some of my family back home, they will spend $100 within 3 days or 1 day. And then they will not have enough money. Can you imagine those soldiers that 24,000 pound is nothing? So what can the president do? Increase 400% to more, at least. If the government can pay one soldier $100 a month, that should be a little bit or more if they're having economic difficulties. So how can the president and the national government can increase the salary of soldiers and civil service?
One of the things, one of the things we argue with the honorable members, because in our public hearing, all the specialized chairpersons, all the specialized committee chairpersons were around. So there are 35 chairpersons of specialized committees in the parliament, and they all attended. And actually, we pulled the rope until 7 p.m. It's for the first time the national parliament have witnessed citizens shaking the parliament since the signing of the agreement, because the citizens came many. The hall couldn't take us in the blue room. So we started right from 2 p.m. We went up to 7 p.m. We end up at 7. Even people are saying we're ready to go until tomorrow morning, because really it's a big national concern. Our demand is that this concept of making salary increment through percentage per the current inflation rate and the level of loss of government production does not make sense. So we say you better allocate a round figure than percentage, because percentage can be played around with the inflation rate. So we say it's better you declare, as you said, you say soldier salary to have to be improved to a rate of $100 per month. And that is a private officer who is a fresh recruit. Then from there, you build up the scale to reach to the highest level. For example, as you said, the cost of living in Juba, personally, if I give you my cost of living, I'm an executive director of civil society. I work in an NGO that I fundraise from the donor funding. If I have to spend for meals per day, at least a meal cost me 12,000 or 15,000. That's that's all about. That's about, for example, like $10.
$10 a day.
So per the day means I need to spend over $30.
Imagine.
Or that plus water plus so that's everything will go to $50. That's somebody who is working in an NGO and in fundraising.
And
now,
if you apply that by 30 days, it will be
by 30 days. Multiply by 30 days and multiply by family members. That's only me, minus family members, minus dependents. And with the ongoing violence, that so many people have come as a dependent to the house. So if a house, and the smallest size of house we have in South Sudan is 5. So multiply $30 per person times 5 people is around $150 per day. And if a soldier cannot earn $150 per month, and you need to spend $150 per day.
Even I hear that the water went up.
Exactly.
Yeah, the water went up from 400 to 1,000 and
exactly.
1,500 pounds.
Exactly. So that means if somebody is below me, then you need to consume at least per day. And normal cost of life per day is $10. $10 is about 30,000 pounds in a day. So do you pay 30,000 pounds to a soldier as a monthly salary? No. That can't work. And that's what we're arguing. And that's what we're arguing with them. Look here, we say, look here, you better allocate a whole figure, but also we need a pension, because we have so many people who are getting huge salary while they have already gone outside their pension scale. They're outside their pension circle. And yesterday is for the first time when we pressurize the MPs over a question of pensioning the elderly people, so that we reduce that bulk, because you have somebody who come to a government office, out of 8 working hours, he sleeps for 3 hours, he have 1 hour of argument, 2 hours he touches papers here, and he's not somebody who is digital oriented, he's doing manual work. So he wasted almost, out of 8 working hours, he wasted 6 hours for nonsense. But you're paying him over 100 plus or 200,000 SSP per month. And he produced nothing. And the soldier who comes every day, you want the soldiers to sit at the gate to provide you safety, security, to check people, who does not waste 8 hours. And even sometimes you go past 8 hours, you're giving him almost 0.0% of someone who is wasting 6 hours. So we raise the concern. We say, look here, you better lay off some of these elderly people, let them go, so that you secure that money for increasing the salary of the soldiers. And then you recruit young people who one person can do a work of 6 elders who are sleeping for almost 6 of them were sleeping 6 hours per day. So if you lay them off, then it was yesterday officially under this pressure, MP who is responsible for the pension committee came and declared to us, actually, the pension scheme has money, but the money is already been borrowed. Who is borrowing that money?
What about Yakani? What about the government? Do government don't have a system retirement plan for the elders? These elders, they're still working right now in the government sector or private sector. Government of course they don't have a system that okay, these elders like retirement age. For instance, like here in the United States, the retirement age will be like 61, 62. Okay, if you reach to 61 to 62 years old, that's your retirement age. You have like over here we call it if you work and you have 401k or you have social security benefit. So that where you will when you reach 62, that your government will issue a check every month like 1,200 for social security or more than that, and plus out of your 401k money, and then you will get more than $3,000 a year a month from your retirement age. My question is, government of Southern they don't have a system for retirement age? All these 60 or 70 years old should be retired.
Let me tell you, if you ask me, technically the plans are there, but politically they're not supported. At the technical level, there are people, and specifically we have population who came, we have experts who came from diaspora who have laid down plans, but their plans were being frustrated by these elders who have a political responsibility. So at a senior technical level and political level, they don't embrace the concept of retirement. There's a plan for retirement. There's a labor law. Labor law is very clear. We have Ministry of Public Service. In the Ministry of Public Service, they are supposed to send an alert for the public service principles. For example, if you're left with 1 year for retirement, you alert the government. After 1 year, I'm going to retire. So the government prepare. And even within the government database, the government knows that this particular year, we have this number of retirement of age. We need to pack this case to go. And we need to secure their lives after retirement. That plan is there, but the political is not there. This one. And yesterday, when we pressurized the MPs on the Pension and Public Service Committee, they're saying, look here, this is a common practice. Some of these elders will reach to their retirement age. And some technocrats, like undersecretaries, some of them are having compliance. They will allow them, they will terminate them to retirement. Then this elder will disappear from the ministry. Then what this elder will do is will go to SPLM house, for then an SPLM event, and in the shaking of the hands, they come across the president. President, you have lost. I've never seen you for quiet. Say, I have lost because I've been kicked out of my job. So they say, what happened? That, I've already surpassed my retirement age and I've been out of the ministry. And then you find the president will call, who is the minister in charge of your ministry? Then the minister will receive a call. Please, this comrade was battling with us in the bush, like what my brother Peter Biara was saying, that they have suffered. That they suffer with us in the bush, allow him to continue. And that's why you come to realize people are dying in a technocratic position beyond their retirement age. You start asking, how come this person is a director general who have retired 10 years ago and is still dying in this particular city of the director general? Why? What went wrong? What happened? He's supposed to be dying at his retirement age somewhere. But someone will die as a director general after surpassing either 10 to 15 years of retirement age. So for me, it's a question of political leadership. It's not that we don't have human resource that can execute such plan. We have enough human resource that can execute that plan. But leadership, political, is not supporting our technocrats that have those skills on how to design a system for retirement. And I will tell you, we have a size of over, if I predict for you, our size of working force, the government workforce, 40% of them are surpassing retirement age. 40% are surpassing retirement age. And unfortunately, also, these 40% that surpassing the retirement age are holding very key technical positions from director generals, under secretaries.
They are their whole country.
Exactly. And they are not digital oriented from national level. And the more you go to sub-national level, the more you have them. You have local government executive directors that if you told them you run, because local government is a paramilitary in South Sudan. If you say I'm a local government officer, you're supposed to be paramilitary. Half you are civil servant, half you are paramilitary, because our local government is based on a mix of paramilitary. So you have to undergo some military training. So there are some executive directors of counties. If you tell them, let us run because we're paramilitary, you are telling them we're going to kill you. They have no energy to run. And that's an executive director that's supposed to be a paramilitary running a county of local government. And if you hear them narrating stories, they'll never tell you stories about the current world, the current dynamics of the world. They'll tell about Nimeri, Abu Dhaim, Suar al-Dahab, Sadiq Al-Mahdi, they talk about Tarabi,
And where are they now?
That's not much with the current world.
They're all gone. They are not.
That's a problem.
Yeah?
They're gone. That is it.
Oh man.
So that is a challenge. So we're spending over 40% of our national budget on a working force that is not productive. So what do you expect? And this 40% is the most expensive than the 60% of working force. So that means the performance is not there. Social service cannot be improved. So for me, that is the biggest challenge that is facing the execution of budget. And besides this, because we don't have a budget disciplinary culture, people who are corrupt, people who are looting, you find they are rewarded with better positions. So corruption becomes a common norm. Even some politicians, if they're not corrupt, they have been insulted. That why you don't steal? You have the opportunity. You could have stolen like what others have done. So corruption has been blessed. It become a public glory that once you're a politician, you must be corrupt. Then people glorify you, and you'll be rewarded.
And all and all of them, they have 2, 3, 4 wives.
Exactly. And beyond that, we have been burying them almost on monthly basis. And on monthly basis, their funerals is around $300,000 or 4 or 3 million or 33 million. And these are account against the public treasury. You remember there's a season almost, we lost 21 MPs who are all what we call hero, and almost each of them is consuming 300,000 from the public treasury. Will be started to have been paid highly, and they're not performing. So that is where the production attitudes of the government, we have been setting it. So we have huge consuming government than production government. So even if you have a very good budget, like Honorable McQuay was saying, as long as you have that type of human resource, 40%, that takes over 60% of the budget and 40% of the working force that does not perform 6 hours per day. And out of them, you're losing them on monthly basis, and you're charging their funerals against the public treasury. That's a disaster. That's really financial insecurity.
And it's really sad to see, because and another thing too, you see the country is run by dollars. Okay, so as you see the NGO now working in the country, they are paying their employees by dollars, not by pounds. You see, the citizens that are working day to day basis, they don't get nothing. It's really I cannot get it. What will be the next? What will be the next? Yeah, Bowen. What will be the next? What will be the next after yesterday hearing? What will be the next?
By practice of the Constitution and the conduct of the Parliament, if the Parliament take the argument that citizens yesterday presented with different presentations of different players in the public hearing, the MPs are either to adjust the budget by the calls made by the citizens, or they have to reject. But the capacity of the current MPs to adjust the budget and to reject the budget is very minimum. And you can hear what already the official spokesperson of the government was saying. And even one MP have said, look here, this budget is a political statement of the executive. It's not subject for so much change. So already an MP is telling us that, look, we're going to pass the budget as it is, because it's blessed. So we are operating in a system where the executive sanctions the legislative. It's not the legislative sanctioning the executive. So we are not expecting huge changes. But if the chairperson of the Committee of the Finance and the MPs, if they can mobilize themselves as a majority, they have the prerogative, the constitutional prerogative, to adjust the budget or reject the budget or pass the budget. But their capacity politically to reject the budget or to adjust the budget is a bit limited. They may likely go with accepting the budget as it is, because there's this political affiliation that also the MPs have among themselves. So for me, we don't end up here. As civil society, we're going to follow with the committee, and we're going to see the presentation of the Finance Committee to the rest of the August House after the public hearing, because the committee have to present the concerns of the citizens to the rest of the Parliament, where the speaker chairs, and there we are allowed to observe because we have observation rights. So from there we need to observe how much will the committee take into account the concerns raised by the citizens, because initially they have to take into account the concerns raised, so they have to adjust the budget. So that's the biggest issue we're in. And besides that is also, even if this budget is approved, from the previous practice is that Some ministries, their money are released, and some ministries, their money are not released. So the culture that a budget is passed for a particular ministry, the ministry starts spending and table invoice to the ministry, to the finance, is not there. That's not the practice. The practice, even if the budget is passed, the ministry have to wait for liquid money from the Ministry of Finance in order to spend. And there, some ministries are under the mercy of the Minister of Finance. So if you're not in good relations, you may not get the liquid money, which is wrong in practice of budget. Because once budget is passed, that's an envelope of the country, the ministry starts spending. Right. You have to invoice the Minister of Finance to clear. But it's just, that's not the practice in South Sudan. The practice, you have to wait for liquid money, which is completely contrary. And this makes some ministries to be favored by the Minister of Finance, and some ministries to be favored, and some ministries have to use 10% in order to mobilize some technocrats in the Ministry of Finance to push their priorities towards the undersecretaries or towards the minister's approval. So for me, still we have a lot to do to follow up with the parliament.
It's a lot to think to do, because what's going on right now, because I've seen the teachers are not being paid. Okay, they're paid low rate, and these teachers suppose they deserve to be paid more money, and soldiers and civil society. So, and my next question is regarding about the agriculture budget. What is the agriculture budget? Do they have money for the agriculture? Can you say something about that, about agriculture budget?
They have money to the Ministry of Agriculture, but if you see the money for the Ministry of Agriculture is only chapter 1 in operational cost. Chapter 1 is salaries and the running cost of the ministry. So allocating budget to buy agricultural inputs, agricultural equipments, to finance an agricultural bank. So the agricultural bank will loan the farmers, putting a chunk of money to motivate people to go for farming within the Ministry of Agriculture is completely nil. And as I was saying, if you look at the Maputo Protocol, that we are now a party state to the Protocol of the African Union, it demands the overall budget of the country, 10% have to be given to agriculture. What we have is less than 5% of the overall budget for agriculture, which is contradictory to Maputo Protocol. And today I've been in Miraya under debate of the budget. And I was using a case study that we are importing everything from outside. And if you see, you remember there's our force, South Sudan Defense Force, which is supposed to be our contribution to the East African peacekeeping mission in DRC.
Right.
Which later on were moved from Juba and they get stuck in Western Equatoria. They couldn't move. The commander in charge of that special force, the Peace Special Force in Western Equatoria, when they're stuck, they can't come to Juba, they can't go to DRC, they're sitting alone. So him and his soldiers, they start going farming. They farm fedans of very lively maize. And the deputy governor of Western Equatoria visited them. It became the talk in the social media. That, right. Okay, now, why are we keeping Bill Farm here? If a small portion of Bill Farm can start at the border with DRC and can produce this very beautiful maize, that is encouraging us that actually our soldiers, if they go for agriculture, if they venture agriculture sector, they can produce a food that can feed South Sudan and can feed our neighbors.
Right.
So now, the commander, instead of peacekeeping in DRC, he became a very good food security commander in Western Equatoria with the uniform. Instead of going shooting bullets in DRC of AK-47, he is shooting bullets of maize seeds on the ground and he's helping. And everybody become motivated. Even some citizens go on social media saying, look here, this particular commander should be awarded. Because of so that if we can use our army in the agricultural sector, we can have more. And even that raises a debate of people referring back to what Dr. Garang was saying, that if he's supposed to be alive, he will never make a mistake of using oil revenue for paying for direct services. Oil revenue money would have been used for injecting into the agriculture so that agriculture generate the source of revenue that the government can tax. But here we are getting oil money directly for buying V8s. We're getting oil money directly for paying salaries. We're getting oil money directly for constructing roads. Instead of taking oil money, injecting them into the agriculture, then agriculture generate effective multiplier of the revenue that we have. We would have got enough revenue. So there's no money for agriculture. That's one thing that we've been showing that, look here, this is the biggest. And with Neil Ball, who was then the editor of Citizens and who is now an IU member, he created a story that until even we laughed. He told us, look here, fish is now more important than oil. Fish from Upper Nile, fish from Jongole is being imported to DRC. Even Northern Uganda now is depending on the fish. And there's a good, very international media article how much fish from South Sudan have taken over markets in northern Uganda. It actually the Kakwa, the Longbare land where they don't have river.
Right.
And the river to them. So we are supplying fish beyond the borders. They're in northern Uganda, in DRC, and recently Dubai also we start sending cargoes of dry fish from Juba flying out, charcoal flying out. So now if we invest into the fish, because that's a blue economy, if we invest on the fish sector, we can get enough money that is more sustainable than the oil. So we are not turning the revenue of the oil to inject into the production sector to improve our production, because the more we produce, the more we strengthen the capacity of the SSP. The more we start pushing SSP to become a trading currency in the country, and the more pricing is based on the capacity of the SSP. So start using the SSP as a currency to determine pricing. Right now, we're operating in a system where we're using dollar for determining service price. If you go to hotels will give you an invoice that actually reads the currency is dollar. If they want to give you an SSP, they have to equate the rate of the dollar to a black market rate of the dollar and then convert it for SSP. So SSP is not a currency of trading. We are trading with dollar, as you have said. But why SSP is not become a currency of trade? Because the capacity of SSP is weak, because we are not producing, while we have all opportunities of investing into our production sector to ambush the market in East African community.
And why the government is not enforcing not to use dollars? And
they tried. Central bank tried to impose the use of SSP and the dollars. Okay. Now, where is the problem here? The problem is that all the foreign services that are coming into the country, all the imports that are coming to the country, all the exports that are coming to the country are coming through use of dollar. Today, if you need sugar, you need to convert your money into SSP and take it to the what? To buy things from the international market, from Kampala, from Nairobi, for you to bring to the country. You don't use SSP. Why? Because SSP is not a strong currency. So dollar overcome, then you set dollar in between. So because services that are brought to the country are brought by the use of dollar, automatically it imposes dollar to be more stronger currency of trade than the SSP. That's one thing. Secondly, there's this mistake we did. And this mistake, I give some few people, I don't want to call their names here. We have these professors who call themselves the economists. They have worked in World Bank. They have a PhD of economics of 1964, 1971, which right now it become a normal secondary school subject in commercial schools. But for them, by then, because they obtain PhD on those subjects, which are now as subjects in secondary schools, expired, I can call it as expired PhD holders with the old economy. They are the one who campaign the devaluation of the SSP. Remember, in 2012, 2013, 2014, there's this tendency of devaluing the SSP against the US dollars. And there's a trading message from a Nigerian economist which say how Nigerian Naira was being fought by the international financial facility to the level that even Nigeria cannot produce toothpaste. They have to import toothpaste. They have to use billions of Naira to import toothpaste into the country where they can produce toothpaste in the country. And they have to bring champagne from somewhere into the country where the devaluation of the Naira, it becomes a problem. And Ethiopia have resisted the devaluation of the birr until Ethiopian birr remains strong. So we have easily accepted our nationals who claim to be economists, and we come to realize actually they're not real economists. Some of them are statisticians who claim to be economists, advise the president to accept the devaluation of the SSP currency by using the language of realigning SSP against US dollars, which didn't work. And that have really killed the value of SSP. And of course, that one is a very good news to IMF, to World Bank. The moment your local currency does not compete the currency World Bank and IMF are using for loan, is for your advantage. And this is what we call the global political economy. So we don't have political mindset that protects SSP and empower SSP.
This is really, and also to black market. Black market is one of the things that I see in South Sudan and some of the neighbors countries like Kenya, Uganda. I don't see that people are selling money on the street. So everybody, if you want to exchange, if you go with your dollars, you have to go to the bank, whether in Western Union or MoneyGram or Dapshil, that to change your $100 to Uganda money. But when you come to South Sudan, you have to go to on the street, black market to change your money.
And let me tell you, recently there's a survey which came out very clear that actual black market, 90% are owned by the decision makers in the country. People working in central bank, working in security institutions, in key ministerial positions, the owners of the black market. They don't create the black market. So, but it's the same people that you want them to make political decisions to empower the SSP. And they want paralyzing SSP by taking to black market. That's why if you arrest somebody in the black market, it does not take you seconds. A general will come to you. The general will say, what's wrong with this? So people in black market are people who have never gone to school, have never studied. But you see them holding amount of almost 1 million SSP sitting without knowing anything about economics, without knowing anything about financing, without knowing anything about financial security. They sit on the streets. So you arrest one of them. You come to realize now a learned person will come with a rank, with a very big tinted V8 to protect this particular person. So they're the owners of the market. So what you have done is that the state, what you hear from South Africa, that there's what we call a state capture. Actually, South Sudan has been captured by our elites. Our government has been captured by a section of elites that are playing around with the economy of the country. They create a black market, they get out of black market. They're the same people going for auctioning dollars in central bank. So they auction for themselves. They don't auction for anybody. And that's why it doesn't have impact on the economy in the country. So that's an economic and financial nightmare we're in now.
It's still sad. It's still sad. And President Salva Kiir have to do something in order to serve the country, not to collapse, because the economy is the everything for the country. So if the economy is bad like the way it is right now, so President Salva Kiir need to do something about it, or so there will be no South Sudan. My next question regarding about what the money, the country money, where they go. So the money, like how we know that the 95% budget is come from the oil, okay? So where this money going? The country money, where are they going? So where the government is consuming this money, where they going to?
You know, most of this money is paying foreign service in the country. For example, rent outside the country, medical services outside the country, paying education of their family members outside the country, and also bribing people outside the country to come and fix for them things. And besides that, also this money goes to an angle of other financial transactions that it involve foreigners to engage. So almost 70% of our own capital income that we generate through our national budget, it pays services that are not provided by nationals. It's been provided by foreign service providers. So we are importing our money outside. We're spending much of our money outside, and nothing is coming back in return. What comes back in return is services that we have to pay for. So we have nothing that comes in return for that. Because if the circulation of over 70% of our income from the national budget are not circulating from within, and not circulating within South Sudanese business and service providers in country, that's a big loss to our economy. That's a big loss to our economy. And that's why people start asking, like, really, are we, the oil revenue, is it a blessing to the country, or the oil revenue is a curse? It's a curse. Why is it a curse? Because over 70% of the income we generate from the national budget, we're paying with foreign service. Hospitals, schools, accommodation, in terms of our ministers, where they're living with their families with dependents. And then also, if you want other service providers that to provide you like some legal service, you have to hire them from outside. If we can pay over $1 million US dollars or 2 million, 3 million US dollars for a private lawyer to come and just make nonsense in the country about international law and legal service. This that's British guy who is running around and being hired with millions of dollars. And that's a profiteer of the violence. We have to hire a lobby group to lobby on behalf of the government of South Sudan for such amount of millions. So public institutions operate on loan basis. Now, what's the reason of having a national budget? Like, if I can tell you, the civil aviation build a new office just to improve the quality of the operation of civil aviation using a Chinese company on loan basis, and now Chinese company is threatening them. So soon we'll become like a Zambia, where our airport will be taken over by Chinese.
Yeah.
Because they have to collect their income. The runway have to be constructed.
Do they know the national debt ceiling, national ceiling? Do they know? Do they have system that to track how many debt do the country have? Do the South Sudan have that so that they can track?
Technically, they will tell you they have a system of tracking the debts. Mm-hmm. But if you see the debt load that we have now, if we're to pay it, it will go up to 2047. Okay? We already we have debt on our back that we need to clear for the next 20 years. What is it? Where is the future generation? That's a bulk of debts that we have behind us. It's a huge debt. And then sometimes if you hear there's this statement that actually the oil, the crude oil will be in auction for the next 20 years. Remember, there's a debate which I think 1 or 2 years ago.
Last year, one of the ministry, pioneer ministry, that said that the oil has been sold for 3 years, 23, 24, 25.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's real. That information come out of blue. So we are living on loan. We're living on debt. So even if you have this budget has to go for debt. So for me, that's the biggest challenge. And that's why here, we are expecting a national economic conference. And today, the minister, if you can allow me to go and Google, the Minister of Finance say already a date is set. Let me see in the media when is a date set for the national conference. And this is where I would like to use your platform to appeal to the diaspora. I want to appeal to the diaspora that since the country is going for a national economic conference, which is upcoming one in the coming period, I wish the diaspora should help us in writing opinion papers. Yes, some of you cannot deliver, but we are here, we'll deliver them. I'm quite sure we'll have a space as a civil society, as a nationals, to go to the conference and deliver. So I think for me, I would like to urge this platform that we have now to urge our diaspora, this upcoming national economic conference, please help us, write your opinions, write your papers, share with us so that we will engage, we will market it, we will sell it out, because the minister also has said a date is set for the conference. So I'm just trying to look for article where the dates of the conference, when was it set. I'm trying to research for it so that I can share which month are we expecting the National Economic Conference coming up, which I saw it today in several media outlets. So for me, this is the opportunity. This is the opportunity for the diaspora. Yes, I know you may not be in country. We are in country. We are ready to get whatever opinions you have. Write up your opinions. And as you send to us your opinions, then we will deliver your opinions in this conference so that we can really want to see the outcome of this economic conference, whether politically there's a will to listen to the voices of South Sudanese experts, and specifically our economists in the diaspora. I would really urge them that as we have this platform, let's use it. Let's use this opportunity of the upcoming national conference, and then we use it, we push it to pursue it, so that at least.
Yeah, you're right. And we diaspora, we always call President Salva Kiir to have a diaspora desk, okay, in the country, so that he is supposed to welcome us, people in diaspora. We have in a very good way that we can serve this country. But it seems like they block diaspora people. They see that diaspora, we people in diaspora, we are the enemy of the country. But they don't know that we here, we are well off. We people in America or Australia, we are well off. We're working, we have money coming in. So what we want to work to develop our country, okay, to be like others country in Africa. But our leaders, they are not seeing that. They see that people in diaspora, that they are enemy. They're enemy. They don't want them. When you see that, they see, when you come there and say you are come from America, they will see you as a strange person, But yes, your what you said is true. It's right, because if they give that opportunity and people who are listening to this media, so especially if you want to write your opinion article, we can forward to Yakani, and then they can share with those leaders.
So I've checked the dates. The date of the National Economic Conference will run from the 4th to 8th of September.
Yeah.
So 1 month plus from now. And this is a conference that it results of civil society. I'm really in far front of pushing the president to call for national economic conference and really to work. And if you go to the Tamazu, it works. That now the Minister of Finance have said, now they have set a date for the National Economic Conference. So I would really urge the diaspora. You know, sometimes you have tight schedules in your own life in diaspora. We know, we appreciate that you have on your lifestyle there, you have a family, you have everything, but we are making a national call. Take a minute. 2 lines of your mindset as an economist from diaspora may rescue this country from all this mess that we're talking. So please contribute with articles, contribute with opinions. And also, if you wish, I will look for the soft copy of the budget to share. And I wish that also, if there's anybody, you can Google the South Sudan Vision 2040. You can use that to justify your argument. Where is the country? The issue of the oil, the fish. So some of us are not economists. So for those of you who are diaspora and economists, please help us with your write-ups, 1 page, 2 page, as my brother say, share with them in Lex Media, communicate to us. We'll try, because this conference is a result of a civil society call. And I was among the far front who have called president to ensure there's a national economic conference. Now it is there. Let us test them. Is it going to be like the national dialogue? Because right now our advocate is that let the national economic conference results not end up like the national dialogue conference results. So for me, it's a really big issue, a big opportunity. Let's try. Than us sitting somewhere and blaming, let's try, share with us that, and we will try our level best to make sure that we communicate to the leaders and make sure that we use your knowledge to influence decisions and outcome of the National Economic Conference. And remember, it's in September, and we're having elections coming, or whether there's no elections, or whatever, political change is going to happen. So, but how do we rescue our national economy? Because your single word that you volunteer to write towards the economic national conference may save the generations to come. And your single word may be one of the new legacy in the model history of South Sudan as economics of the country is concerned. Thank you.
Thank you. My last question, which is we are coming to an end. My last question regarding about what you just mentioned. What is the budgeting for allowance for the upcoming election? So, do you have anything that you can share?
Obviously, the current budget, it is not a budget that is election focused. The current budget is more of an extension focused. But as I mentioned in the beginning, when we push the MPs to a corner, and when we see that budget that of institutions that are responsible for elections only having total budget of 603 million, that budget is distributed between the Political Parties Council with 2 million plus, the National Election Commission with 2 million plus, the Constitutional Review Commission with 2 million plus. We're really shocked. But at the end of the day, they told us, look here, election is a project by itself. If these institutions are reconstituted, they will submit their own budget. And also to share with your audience, I can share it as an information in advance. Tomorrow, we are going to vet. We're going to vet the criteria for the establishment of the Political Parties Council. So our advocates have worked. We put a lot of advocacy, a lot of pressure. So now for the first time, we have been called by the principal of the parties to advertise that tomorrow we, the stakeholders who are signatories, civil society, women, youth, religious leaders, tomorrow at 11, we are meeting in the midst of cabinet to vet the criteria for the appointment of the chairperson for the Political Parties Council, because the law say the chairperson has to be non-partisan. Somebody have no any connection with any party that is signatory to the agreement or non-signatory to the agreement or any party. You have to be completely neutral, not a politician, have no any political link. So we're going to do the vetting tomorrow. I hope, pray for us that tomorrow the vetting of the stakeholders will help the nation, will save us from having a proper Political Parties Council that will establish the political parties. So this is just an advanced information to share with your audience. So tomorrow, if you wish, tomorrow maybe I can come and update them after the vetting. What are we thinking about the political parties? What is our opinion as civil society that we have seen with the formation of political parties? And this also may go as a news to our own brothers who are politicians, who have political establishment outside, how the law is going to be applied. And I will share with transparent in a very credible and honest manner what have I seen in our tomorrow's consultation with them with regard to the establishment of the Political Parties Council, because it's a big institution for setting political establishment in the country, for transitioning our country from violence to peace. So this I can share in advance. But the budget is not election focused. The budget have ignored elections. As they say, election is a project by itself. They're waiting if the institution reconstitute, they're going to come with a budget. And that's the outcome that will walk away after our debate.
Yeah, definitely. We will see on that tomorrow. So it will be good. So let's do it. So tomorrow, if I have a time, we can host that topic again tomorrow and see how things. Yeah, and also too another I just see the article yesterday that Dr. Barnaba Marial Benjamin just break his silence regarding uh, about
Roundtable.
roundtable peace talk between the All Out group, and he said that he won those All Out group to come to Juba for the roundtable discussion. But yesterday I listened to Clubhouse when General Pagana mom talked, so he don't want that. He don't want to go to Juba for roundtable. He want roundtable to be hosted somewhere in a different country. So
You know, one of the things after we saw that message, and particularly me in person, I don't trust to speak on behalf of others. I was shocked.
Mm-hmm.
Then what I decided to move and to try to do is to reach out to the concerned authority in the incumbent system. And I tried to reach out to Benjamin Marial in person. I say, is there any guarantee that people who are critic of the leadership will come to Juba and wish to offer the guarantee? There's no proper answer to that. There's no proper answer to that. And that tells you a bit of suspiciousness for other critics. And that's what Pagan have raised it, because he is one of the strong critics among others. There's so many of them. And that's why we start thinking like, look here, sometimes as you want to be harder and harder, sometimes it's good to compromise for the sake of the country. Why don't we have a team, South Sudanese team, that play a mediation role to bring this particular national roundtable, if it's an alternative among ourselves? So why don't we have a religious team leaders that can move between Juba and our colleagues outside to make sure that these things, to be honest and sincere with you, for the sake of confidence and trust, you need to have a neutral ground. But this neutral ground should be reached by consensus. Maybe the roundtable may become a big breakthrough. Maybe a breakthrough. Okay? Even if you have it, even if you don't have it physical, if you can have delegates, planning delegates that can meet. You need to establish a plan day before the conference. Let the delegates build trust and confidence. Even if you take the delegates a bit of 1 week, 2 weeks, or 1 month, let delegates start dialoguing. And I don't think that the government needs to be rigid about that, because whether the roundtable is held in Juba or the roundtable is held in diaspora, they still run their government. The government is not collapsing with the roundtable, but it's a space to argue out issues, you know. And that's what some of us who have.
Here my argument on this, and also to my question to you: what is the difference between national dialogue, roadmap, and roundtable? What's the difference?
Let me tell you. Politics without a space that give you legitimacy, you don't believe on that politics. Okay, this is a theory in political science. That's why you see Libya is divided into two: Libya run by a non-UN elected government and Libya section run by the elected government. It's the same thing. Like the way how Trump today is beating in US that I don't believe on Biden is democratically elected because he took militias to White House. So he believed without him being in White House, there's no democratic elected government. And this is the mindset of politicians. So when they talk of national dialogue, you talk of roadmap, you talk of roundtable, you talk of Rome peace process, as long politicians does not see any gain, the goalpost will be changed. But the question is, when should we have the political attitudes of where we need to shift the goalposts? When do we end it? Whether with the incumbent or with the opposition? You see? Because with politics, as long as you don't have a space that you assert the narrative, you feel that space, the outcome of that particular space is not mine. Though even sometimes you may have outcomes that of a better space than what they're going to create, but because you are not the one who said the narrative, who said the way how the space come to exist, you feel, I will tell you one of the things I experienced when we were in the revitalized peace agreement in Addis. Do you know, my brother, signing a political document, 1 page only, sometimes take another negotiation 2 hours. You negotiate document with 1 hour, but for the parties to agree among them who is to sign is another negotiation 2 hours. Even the roadmap, by the way, the roadmap that was passed, so I have to take almost like a full day negotiation. President was waiting for someone to agree among themselves who will sign. Is it Vice President Abdul Bagi Ai or is it Chairperson Josephine Lagu? That's a signature. A signature, political signature. It's not any normal signature. So let us adhere, let us embrace the culture of dialogue among political elites, but should be a productive one. Because if you have like the national dialogue, you wasted resources, you wasted millions, and you dump it away. You remember, so go for another roundtable. But anyway, who is going to be the financier of the roundtable also?
Right. And also, Dr. Maria Benjamin said that we have we cannot shipping 1,000 delegates to another country so that they can get a round table. So which is cost a lot of money. So that's why he said that if you're round table, this country have to be done in Juba. So I'm looking forward to interview Dr. Maria Benjamin. So we will bring him soon, and also Honorable Michael Mkunwet. So we need to bring them so we can. Well, we need them to so that they can interact with South Sudanese. So
one of my appeal is that even if we don't have the roundtable physical, let us start using virtual means to start building the culture of understanding about the roundtable. If you can get Benjamin Marial, get Pagana Mum, get somebody from NAS, maybe from the side of Thomas Cirillo, some of other groups, get them on board, bring the PCA like Abraham Awolaj on board, bring some people from Juba. Let us use a virtual, where physical they can't meet, but virtual they can argue.
Yeah, that's a good thing, but something problem here with the opposition leaders like Pagana Mum or NAS leader. These people, they make out their mind, Yakani. They don't want to associate like the media, like our media. They already single out as a government media. They don't want to come any close to our media platform. I sent them invitation to come, and they refuse to come. But guess what? I told them, okay, if you guys don't come like let's say media, the way that you don't want to come, how do you think that you are a leader of the country? So we want to bring this a gap between you opposition and government. We are here between you guys. We want to bring, so our focus here, we have to bring two sides together. So we need peace in our country. In order to bring peace in our country, we need two groups to dialogue one another. That's what we need. Yeah, go ahead.
Can I raise this concern? I want to bring this concern towards you. I know quite a number of South Sudanese online media groups. You guys were here, Lex Media. I know one of my colleagues, when we were in the university, Edward, he's running another online YouTube media. Yes, I know Edward, he is running. I've never been invited by him, but I've been following his media outlets. He's a YouTube and also he's running. And I know there's quite a number of them. Can you guys, as online media South Sudanese, reach a consensus, bring a one platform for just one event, for a virtual roundtable? Because the other media that they impressed, the other media that they opposed, can all of you agree a South Sudanese online media platform? Say, look, let's all come together. Yes, we may have difference in ideology, but for the sake of the country, let's establish one and let's go for that and let us argue over that. Since you guys in the diaspora, internet is cheaper compared to us in here, can you bring a media consensus? And I'll try my level best. If you have access to Edward, I'll find my way to access Edward and for us to pick. And if there's any audience who is listening to me here that have access to Edward, I know some friends of Edward may have listened to us here. Maybe also he's listening. I wish that let us try to reconcile first the media online ones to create one reconciled media platform. And let's go for that virtual one. Because if the Juba ones are fearing, if the opposition are fearing to have a virtual platform, now what's a guarantee that we're going to have trust and confidence for the products of the physical? You see? So let us use
that's a good idea. That's a good idea, but I don't know how it will work because
I'll try my best. I'll try my best to play it.
So this media, this South Sudanese media, you just mentioned, you know, they are using media. They are focused in one direction. Anything negative happen in South Sudan, that's what they are talking about. They don't talk about any positive. If anything good happen in South Sudan, they will not talk about. But any negative, anything that cannot take our country forward, that's what they talk about. If there's any shooting now in Juba tonight, tomorrow you will see that's what they are talking about. You see,
My appeal to all of you as South Sudanese who have this innovative and creative way of creating online platforms. One of the basic principle of a media platform, it's supposed to have a positive impact on political attitudes. And the positive impact on political attitudes, it's supposed to sum up and produce an outcome what we call the best interest of the citizens.
Right. Exactly.
Besides the difference in political ideology. Now, when media becoming a source of a hostile propaganda and hate speech and misinformation, disinformation, then you are contributing in widening political attitudes that make us lose the identity of nationalism. So for me, I'm someone who I'm ready to go to any platform, even if a platform that sees me, I'm completely negative. If they invited me, I want to confront them. Because for me, dialogue is the best sense of maturity. If you start sanctioning dialogues, you're losing maturity. Human maturity is defined by embracing, by compromising, by accepting, by tolerating. So how do we know these values if you don't speak? So for me, that is really the big challenge. And that is where sometimes I start asking myself, have we really owned South Sudan? Or we fought for the independence because by then we have the Jalaba, we have the Mundukuru, we have the Arabs. They have gone now, now this is the real identity we are in. You know, sometimes bring a psychological question and mental question one is asking himself. So for me, we need to start breaking the silence and we need to start building the nation among ourselves. So for me, I'll try to reach out to the various platforms of media. I know some of them want to reach. Of course, there are those ones also who see some of us who sit in Juba. And this was sometimes I laughed so much with you brothers and sisters in diaspora. Some of you, if we speak today, our level is blue. If we speak tomorrow, our level is red. Right. If we speak, we keep on being leveling. No, you're no longer red, you're no longer blue, you're yellow. But I used to tell people is that facts and evidence will prove one day.
And that's a big challenge on us here. That's a big challenge because as you see, the label has a lot. We are blue, we are red color, we are JCE, we are national security agent, all kinds of names, you see. We have been paid by the government. Salva Kiir hiring me to do all of this, you see. And that's the problem. That's the big problem on this diaspora media. It's not a lot of media, Brother Edmund. It's only two media doing this negative propaganda. And they are these two media, the one opposition are using mostly. And if you go there and listen what they say, is you said, is these people they're having a heart for the country? Is this is the country that we call our country? This is the country that 2.5 million people lost their life. And this is the country that you left to be a refugees in another country. So it's really mind-blowing. It's mind-blowing, you know? Yeah, go ahead.
My appeal to all of you, how much hard politically we are divided. One single thing we should not lose is national value and allegiance to national value. So for me, that's the most important thing. And of course, I know dialogue will make us go to a right direction where we are. This world was not built. Jesus Christ could have come in one day and clear all the evils and the devils in one day, but Jesus has to go to dialogue with them. You have to go for missions, and that's why there's books. Those are all the results of dialogue between Jesus and the society. He would have just come as a Holy Spirit, as a Son of God, just come kill all the evils and just leave the whole ones. He could have dealt with the whole world. He would have never have Peter, Simon, who's a fisherist. He would have not changed Saul or to Paul to become a positive history. So let us try to build culture of dialogue without resistance, without sanctions, without censorship, so that through the dialogue, I may discover my weakness. Through the dialogue, you may discover your weakness. Through the dialogue, you may discover my strengths. I may discover your strengths. Okay, it's how much we disagree, but we have this opportunity to build a legacy that we can leave for generations to come. So, as long as we don't use dialogue as a way of building sense, then our maturity is under question, whoever we are and whatever academic we are. But anyway, I wish for the best for the country. I wish for the dialogue. I wish for us to be focused. I wish for us to own nation. I hope that South Sudan, we can own it through dialogue, not the barrel of the bullet. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you so much, my brother Yakani. I will see you tomorrow for another topic. Let's keep continuing doing this. So legislative media team is always available so that we can have a discussion, because this is the message that we are sending to the government leaders so that they can do better, because the country economy is really is getting out of hand. And if you want the country to be a country that all of us want, you have to make changes like retirement plan. You need all these retirement ages need to go home and make sure that they're having a budget that they can get their salary a month and let the country move forward. That's the only thing that we can see. So I hope we will bring one of the Ministry of Finance tomorrow or Friday, if we can arrange that show so he can come and talk about this.
I think I will really reach out to the chairperson of Finance Committee. He's the right person to be questioned by the diaspora, because the final ball is in his hand. He is a member of SOA. He belonged to Sang Son Chang's party. So I think I'll talk to him to come and face the diaspora through the platforms. And I will also extend, if other media platforms want to host him, they can reach out to you. You can give them my contacts. They can reach out to me if they have other access of contacts of my WhatsApp. Let's speak. Diaspora should not be neglected in shaping the pathway of the South Sudan we want. We must be all inclusive. Inclusive means don't leave any South Sudanese out. We should not excise animal farm in building the future of South Sudan we want. We must leave animal farm down. We are all equal, and we all deserve equal opportunities of speech, of say, of engagement, of participation. If it's not physical, let's use the technology to express our opinion so that our opinion will be heard and may contribute to the best solution of the country that we want. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Have a wonderful night. I will see you tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank
And
you.
thank you for those who are watching.
William Atoin Benti wala kwaju kaya wow Pain Ping William Atoin Malkal wala pinyaram Pain Ping William